Welcome to Changing Higher Ed, a podcast dedicated to helping higher education leaders improve their institutions. With your host, Dr. Drumm McNaughton, CEO of The Change Leader, a consultancy that helps higher ed leaders holistically transform their institutions. Learn more at thechangeleader.com. This episode of Changing Higher Ed is sponsored by Perdea Education, a national leader in online student recruitment and enrollment services, providing institutions enrolled students risk-free on a performance-based model with no long-term contract. If your online programs could benefit from incremental online student enrollments, visit PerdeaEducation.com. That's P-E-R-D-I-A education.com. And now, here's your host, Drumm McNaughton.
Thank you, David. Our special guest today is Dr. Billy Hawkins, president of Talladega College. Dr. Hawkins has served as Talladega's president for 12 years, and during this time, Talladega has been completely transformed and revitalized, including over quadrupling enrollment from 300 to over 1,300. And the institution is now listed among Princeton Review's best colleges in the Southeast and U.S. News & World Report's most innovative colleges. Dr. Hawkins is one of higher ed's best turnaround specialists, and he joined us to talk about what he has done at Talladega over the past year of COVID, sharing some highs and lows, and also some great takeaways for HBCU and other university presidents. Billy, welcome back to the show.
It's a pleasure to be back on your show again.
Well, I've been looking forward to this. It's been 10 months since we spoke last. A lot of water's gone underneath that bridge. 2020 is a year for me I'd like to forget.
Well, I think 2020 is a year that everyone would like to forget. It's quite a year with politics throughout the country, throughout the world, and of course dealing with this pandemic. As COVID-19 really took its toll on this entire world and really has taken a great toll. 500,000 people losing their lives, and certainly we pray for all those families who have lost loved ones during this time, and certainly pray for the families just right here in Talladega who have lost loved ones. We actually lost a professor here at Talladega to COVID-19. So it's been, it's just been a time that I think that we all love to forget.
I think you're absolutely right. And hopefully we don't forget those that we've lost. There's been a lot of carnage, a lot of, sadness around this whole thing. But when I take a look at schools that have done well, I have to say Talladega is right up there at the top. You have done a phenomenal job over the last year. Your enrollment has stayed flat. And, when I think about where you came from when you first joined Talladega many years ago, that's a tremendous blessing.
Well, it has been a blessing. And of course, since we've talked, in spite of the pandemic, we hit another record enrollment. We went over 1,300 students for the first time in the history of this institution. Coming from 280 students almost 13 years ago to 1,300, just what a blessing, that this faculty staff and has worked so hard with this board of trustees, working all together. When you come together and work as one, a lot can happen we can't say a short period of time, but over a 13-year period. A lot of changes taking place here at this institution.
Well, that's kind of your middle name is change, I think. Maybe that's what the C stands for. I don't know. But
well,
you've made a lot of changes there at Talladega. You've made changes at every institution you've been at. And I think this last year is probably, I would guess, to be one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging for you, being a change agent, trying to deal with things that not necessarily you asked for, but have been thrust upon you.
Well, clearly there was a lot that was brought on all of us, back in 2020 in March, when this pandemic had really started to spread throughout this country. It was just the unknown. when we were faced with what to do with our student body, decisions that had to be made at that time, my main concern was to make sure that our students got home safely. We knew at that time that that was the best place for them, although we did maintain some students for a while because we did not want to send them to what were noted as hotspots in this country, California being one. We waited until things kind of settled a little bit before we sent students to the West Coast and other places that we knew that were hotspots around the country. So all of our students were able to get home safely. Thank God for that blessing. And then we began to plan for the future, because from everything that we knew, this virus would not be here one day and gone the next day. And so then we had to begin to recognize that and begin to plan for the future, which was planning for fall semester. Of course, we had summer school facing us in the face, and we proceeded with summer school 100% online, as well as we helped our students to finish the semester online and providing them the assistance that they needed. So that was our goal at the time when we first started experiencing this pandemic. And of course, it's been trying to keep everyone safe.
Absolutely. And so when did students come back for face-to-face classes? Did they come back in the fall?
They did. We was fortunate to receive CARES Act funding, which helped us to really plan for the fall and making sure that everything was in place on the campus, that we were able to do some renovations, make some adjustments, getting ready for the fall, purchasing protective plastic shields to go into dormitories to divide the rooms up. We did that. We did that in offices. We were able to use those dividers in classrooms, as we still use to date. So we looked at that. We were able to connect with a company out of DC where we brought our sanitizing liquid from. We purchased the sprayers from a company out of Florida. So we were just looking at, where we could purchase safety, for the campus to prepare to receive our students back. Now, a lot of institutions around the country made a decision to go 100% online, and where they did not bring their students back to the campus. Many HBCUs made the decision. But we felt that with the CARES Act money, with the assistance from the government, we felt that we could do the necessary preventative types of things, which would allow us to bring our students back to campus. So we ordered some 5,000-6,000 masks, custom masks for the faculty, staff, and students. We purchased a camera. You probably saw some of those cameras that would check temperature when you walked into a building or a room, made that investment. And then we began to put things in place. We formed a COVID-19 committee on campus that would also do the testing. We purchased probably at that time, probably close to 5,000 rapid tests, which just put in another order for another 10,000 or so, rapid tests. And so we developed our own technique and philosophy that we would use, not knowing whether it would work or not. But we felt that we invested over $1 million preparing for the safety of the faculty, staff, and students. And so our students returned in August. Actually, we had moved commencement to August. So the commencement that we should have had the 1st of May, because I was determined to graduate that graduating class, which, by the way, was the largest graduating class in the history of Talladega. We graduated over 170 plus students in the graduating class and invited them back. We rented a big tent that would hold a couple thousand people, and we put it out in the yard that we call Quad on our campus. That was an exciting time, a trying time. Masks were required for anyone that came on the campus. That became mandatory. That was long before governors and states. And so we didn't wait on federal or state officials to tell us about a mask being mandatory. That became mandatory immediately on our campus. And so putting in those types of safety nets, the social distancing, et cetera. And so we did graduate that graduating class on, I think it was August the 16th, very successfully. And at the same time, graduating that class, we also were bringing back our students to begin the fall semester. We made a decision that all students who wanted to come back could come back. And although we probably had approximately 100 students who decided to stay home, but also take their classes 100% online, and that was acceptable. Now, tell you about a big surprise for the commencement that took place. We enrolled a while back a young man who had played for the Dallas Cowboys, had won several Super Bowls for the Cowboys. He was a student that played football at Florida State and had not quite completed all of his coursework for graduation there. Adult student who qualified to enroll into our adult learner program. We have an adult learner program here at Talladega where it's 100% online. It's a degree in the organizational management. We knew that this high-profile individual who had been enrolled for a while working on the completion of his degree. So what I did at commencement, after we had handed out those 170 diplomas to our students, then I awarded the final degree. Of course, we awarded several honorary doctorates, but I felt that had I allowed this particular student to sit in the audience with the graduating class, that it would have disrupted the whole ceremony. So the very last degree, I got up and introduced that last degree. And this gentleman happened to be Deion Sanders, former Dallas Cowboy Hall of Famer, who found out from a graduate of our institution about this adult learner program a while back. And so we enrolled him into that program, and he was successful in completing his bachelor's degree, graduating from Talladega. And you can imagine that when I announced and he pulled off his mask, by the way, I had him to sit on the stage with the rest of us with the platform. So when he pulled down the mask, it just what we anticipated, the students in that graduating class just kind of erupted with great applause. So we did not have a keynote speaker for commencement and planned it that way. Of course, I said a word or two, a minute or two, and as well as the chairman of the board, Isaiah Hughley. So really, Deion Sanders was really our commencement speaker because I allowed him to say a few words. And if you know Deion Sanders,
never get just a few words.
Not from him, but he has two sons that are playing college ball right now. He said that he now will be able to tell his two sons, and he held up his diploma and says, "I got mine." That became a part of his remarks as he said to the graduates, "I got mine." He says, hold that diploma up and say, "I got mine." And so it kind of erupted. And before he sat down, he did what? When he would score a touchdown, he would do the Deion shuffle.
Excellent.
So that was quite a moment for us. And in spite of dealing again with the pandemic, brought on a little humor.
Well, it's nice to have those kind of moments to where people can look back and go, yes, there's still humanity in all this craziness that have gone on. And what a role model to young Black men who have not gotten their degrees. It's like you can go back at any time and get your degree. It's just
Absolutely.
Up to your own motivation.
Absolutely. And certainly that was a moment that day for sure. Mm-hmm. And then again, so that whole weekend was a pretty busy weekend. We knew that students were coming back. And then I might say, and certainly don't share this often, that weekend was a special weekend for myself. We just completed one of the 3 brand new buildings that we've just completed and opened up on the campus. Of course, the new museum on campus where it houses our $50 million Amistad murals. And so we finally were able to build a brand new museum on the campus and that was a commitment I made to the board. And of course, And the one thing I'm proud about that, we raised the money, we paid cash for the museum. So that building is paid for. And then we opened up a state-of-the-art a couple of years now ago, new residence hall that was badly needed on the campus. And then Talladega College has never in the history of this institution had a place for the students to go and enjoy themselves. It's never had a student union. It's never had a student activity center on this campus. And so again, that was a goal of mine, and we completed that beautiful facility and opened it up. You know, it has a restaurant in it. It has a exercise facility. It has a lounging area for the students, a ballroom in there. We moved our admissions office in there, and then it has an arena that seats about a couple thousand. So really proud of that. And so the board saw it to name that building in my honor. So that was a pretty special time, doing that whole weekend with the board and family and others here. Of course, I was more focused on getting these students back here and starting the fall semester.
Sure.
So we did bring back the students in the fall semester. A few institutions that actually did that. And for fall semester, we were less than 1% positives on the campus, because I contribute that to us being ready for that. And so we had a house on campus, and any student tested positive that they would quarantine in that house on the campus. And so that's what got us through the fall semester.
Well, that's fabulous. And of course, your student union, I'm sure that there's Dallas Cowboys logos in there because of Deion.
Well, we haven't quite gotten that far, but certainly, we're sure something will be there one day. We're sure of that.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, this is Talladega. HBCUs in general, this has affected them as well. But one of the beauties of the December legislation was debt forgiveness.
In addition to receiving additional funding from December, as a matter of fact, Talladega College has received $6 million from the December CARES Act, along with the debt forgiveness. That debt forgiveness ranged from schools from 5. I know within the UNCF schools, it ranged from about $5 million all the way up to about $140 million. My former chairman had said to me, he says, well, Doc, he says, we should have borrowed more money from the program. And I said, Mr. Chairman, I said, you all almost got rid of me for convincing you to borrow $12 million. And certainly, I've always been pretty conservative with that, because that borrowing can really cause you some accreditation problems, which it has. And so we had $8 million left on the books, and certainly is thankful to the federal government for that effort. That forgiveness for HBCUs is huge, because it removed major debt off of institutions' books, and that will help sustain those schools for a very, very long time. So that was a real blessing. And I might say too, UNCF, the United Negro College Fund Administration, led the way working with Congress, convincing both sides of the aisle that was a good thing to do. This CARES Act support that we have received. Our HBCUs in the history and the existence of these schools have never received the government assistance that we have received to date. I mean, it has been a blessing that we've received these funds. Without these funds, I just can't tell you. And I would say some of these schools would have closed without this assistance that our HBCUs have received. And so I applaud the UNCF administration. We have a young man, his name is Rodriguez Murray, who's the senior vice president for governmental affairs and public policy, really worked with Congress to develop this bill that would not only give the debt relief, but also to have given us the relief that we receive, from this CARES Act. So it has been a blessing for HBCUs to receive the type of government assistance that we've received to date. And again, that That HBCU capital finance forgiveness was a huge, huge win for our institutions.
Well, the HBCUs fill such a vital role in the education of the Black community. There is nothing like them out there anywhere else. And for this type of action to happen, it's critical. It was critical. And like you say, there would have been many institutions go out of business because of debt. Don't have that anymore.
No, and you're absolutely right. And when you look at a school like a Talladega, 153 years old, founded in 1867, these schools, mostly all of these schools are located in African American communities throughout the country. Majority of our schools being in the South. And so when you look at the reason these schools were founded, is to give African American children an opportunity to become educated. Initially, many of them, they were normal schools, going all the way back. Then they became colleges and universities. These schools have graduated the majority of African American bachelor's degrees that's awarded in this country. Still, that happens today. If the schools, if they didn't exist today, we'd have to create them because of the great service that they have served in the African American community.
Absolutely. And so looking back over the last year, what are the good things that you say we're going to definitely keep doing it this way? Because this has been a sea change for higher education. My friend Gordon Gee has said multiple times, COVID is accelerating needed changes in higher ed by a decade or more. And so what are the changes that you've made that you're going to keep there at Talladega?
Well, first of all, I think the one big change is that learning how to adapt.
That C word, right? Change.
Right. And that's certainly from an administrative standpoint, and that's from an academic standpoint. Our professors have had to make adjustments in the learning process. And so I hope that all teaching faculty understand that that's something that we've probably been saying for years and years and years, that you don't have to continue to teach the same old way that you've been teaching for the last 25, 30 years. And so those faculty members who have used the lecture style, you remember was it 8.5?
Oh yeah, that and the transparencies that you put down on the viewfinder.
That's right. That's right. So clearly we won't see that anymore. And faculty members now know, and professors know, that they can change, they can use different teaching methods, and they can adapt to different teaching methods and learning styles with the students. And so we will see that for sure. And so we won't go back to our old ways. We now know that we can offer education.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that we can offer teaching in different methods, certainly online. And then our students have learned more on how to adapt to technology. Clearly, we're technology driven, so we see that we're able to make those adjustments academically. So certainly we know that those things will be different. Our social behavior will forever change in this country on our campus. We know that sanitizing will become a part of our everyday life. So when you see the chemicals that we've used in spraying our classrooms, I see that continuing to become a part of our maintenance routine of sanitizing offices, sanitizing academic classrooms. I see that is becoming a part of our process. I don't know that I will shake a hand ever again. I think you're going to see that throughout this entire country. We've kind of gotten used to the bump fisting now. That's what I do, or it's just the elbow.
Yep.
And so that's what we're going to see moving forward.
Yeah, our son, when this first thing started, and he works at the Lexus dealership here in town.
Yes.
Here's a plug for that. They were bumping feet.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep. I can foresee that. So there's going to be a lot of creativity. I think that our younger children will use different methods. Their lives will forever change. And I think we're going to see that. I have 3 young grandchildren, granddaughter that's 6, grandson 6, and 1 7. Their lives are going to change because they'll see things different. And so they'll grow up different than how we've grown up.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that as a clearly change in how social behavior. I would say for years to come, folks are going to continue to wear masks. I would not be surprised to, in certain types of setting, to see someone to reach in their pocket and pull out a mask and put on. And that won't be offensive to folks because we're now getting used to folks wearing masks. Of course, the vaccinations, and that's
a game changer.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Game changer and an education still yet.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're coming up to the end of our time. Oh my gosh, this has just been so good to talk with you again. Just a couple of quick ones. You got new funding?
Yes.
So how do you anticipate using that?
We will continue to use the funding to support our students. We will continue to use the funding to enhance campus, again, changing things from a safety standpoint. And so we'll continue to look at ways on how we can change our campus to become more sanitized, free. And then portion of the funding that we're receiving too, we'll be able to provide grants to our students. So if students have outstanding debt to the college, they'll be able to apply for these COVID grants that we'll have in place, that students will be able to help them, with their education. So that's how some of the things that we will be using and moving forward. And then whatever COVID-related resources that's needed in the classroom, certainly we will make those purchases for our professors. The COVID funding is helped in a lot of different ways. It's helped our institution, it's helped our students. And so we'll continue to, the guidelines that the government has set are good guidelines. And so why not adapt some of those guidelines and move them to procedures here that we currently use in our funding process here at the college.
Billy, I've got to ask you, how's your marching band doing?
Marching band is fine. It's sitting right at 400. Last week, they were invited because there's some college football that's going on right now, and they were invited to Mobile on last week. And so we went through our protocols. Everyone was tested before getting on the buses and did a halftime show for Savannah State. So that was a good outlet, for the students to be able to do that. And I'll tell you a quick funny story about that. Of course, they know the protocol, wearing the mask. And so on that day, they all had the matching Talladega mask on. They didn't wear those, the big heavy band suits. They had on matching burgundy pants and T-shirts and hats. But many of the students noticed that there was folks in the audience, the small number. They said to the band director, some of these people aren't wearing masks. Don't they know they should be wearing masks? So it's good to hear these young people making those statements because they know the protocol. They've been taught the protocol of wearing the protective mask. And so I thought that was pretty proud of it. And so they're doing fine. As a matter of fact, our band director, Mr. Bonds, who built that band, started building the band 8 years ago when we hired him. Through all of the COVID and stress and managing that band, he also managed to complete his doctorate. Just 2 weeks ago, he became Dr. Miguel Bonds. And so we've been getting used to calling him Dr. Bonds. And so certainly well-deserved of that. And things are good at Talladega, moving along and doing what we can to make sure we're making a difference in the lives of the young people who attend Talladega. Getting ready for fall enrollment, we know it's going to be, it's a challenge because we're not able to get into the high schools, but through literature that we're able to send out, and through technology, communications through our admissions staff. And of course, admissions is everyone's business. So we're plugging in our professors, our deans, department chairs, getting them involved in the whole process of recruitment for next fall, because it'll be a challenge. Well, certainly we're up for the challenge and to continue to grow this great institution. Great things are happening here, and I'm just, again, proud to be the president of this great higher education institution, Talladega College.
I think they're very lucky to have you, sir.
Well, you're so kind. Thank you.
So 3 takeaways for your fellow HBCU university presidents.
Well, we've got to continue, as I've said to the 37 United Negro College Fund. We just had our spring board meeting. And I said, if you look at the blessings that we've received, and we cannot forget that, number one, in terms of the funding that we've received, and we must not forget that, and we must be vigilant. We must be good stewards of the funds that we've all received. And UNCF has had record fundraising during this pandemic. UNCF has doubled its fundraising effort. Corporations, private donors, individuals have just donated to UNCF like we've never seen. And so our distributions have gone up even from UNCF. Dr. Michael Lomax, president of UNCF, and his staff has just done a wonderful job with the fundraising efforts that they have put forth. And I said to Dr. Lomax and his staff, and I said to the 37 presidents, working together, powerful, such power, such change, such victory that we've had in this past 10 months. And if we continue to be as one, working together, and I always say to those 37 institutions, we're all needed. There's no need to be in competition with one another. The UNCF family is a family. Let's continue to work together. That was what I said to those presidents. And I say that we ought to be about helping one another and making sure that all of our schools stand strong and continue to service the great need that they are serving in the respective communities that they are located in. And so that was my message, and that's my message to our HBCU presidents. Continue to do what you're doing. Continue to educate the young people who have chosen your institutions. Continue to be proud of the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I'm going to toss one in there as well, as continue to be the servant leaders that you are and that you exemplify.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you.
So what's next for you, Billy?
Well, we'll continue to, I'm the type of person that I don't satisfy very easy. What can we do next? What can we continue to do to improve this institution? What can we continue to do to enhance the institution and continue to take it to the next level? We, 2 years ago, started our first master's program in the history of the institution. Now we'll begin to develop more master's degree programs in education in our business department. That is some of our next moves that we'll be making academically, prepare our students for the world of work. Again, it's not about me. It's about Talladega College and about educating these young people and continuing to build and grow and enhance this institution.
Well, I want to thank you. It's always a pleasure having you back on the show, and I look forward to the next time we get to do this.
Again, it's been a pleasure. It's been fun. I just hope, again, that we have another opportunity. Great podcast. You have a great show. And I know that your listeners out there enjoy listening to you and enjoy what you bring to them. Again, I appreciate the great work that you do.
Thank you very much, sir.
And thank you for thinking of Talladega College.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's been a real pleasure talking with you again, and wish you the best of luck. We'll have to do this maybe in the next 6 months, not quite so far out.
We'll look forward to hearing back from you.
Sounds good, my friend. Take care, and again, thank you.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
Thanks for listening this week, and a special thank you to this week's special guest, Dr. Billy Hawkins, president of Talladega College. and for his sharing with us how Talladega College and other HBCUs have approached the COVID pandemic. Some great lessons for all university presidents and their boards. I also want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Perdea Education. Visit PerdeaEducation.com, that's PERDIA education.com, to learn how they can help grow your online student enrollment through a performance-based model that has no risk or long-term contracts to your institution.
Changing Higher Ed is a production of The Change Leader, a consultancy committed to transforming higher ed institutions. Find more information about this topic, along with show notes on this episode at changinghighered.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the show, and we would also value your honest rating and review. Email any questions, comments, or recommendations for topics or guests to podcast@changinghighered.com. Changing Higher Ed is produced and hosted by Dr. Drumm McNaughton, post-production by David L. White.